Welcome to the World United. Welcome to the World United.
Our third speaker for today is Jacqueline Maria Longstaff. Since her awakening many years ago, Jacqueline Maria Longstaff has traveled the world with her work. At the end of 1999, the sacred hill of Arunachala called her back to India, where she founded an ashram called Singing Heart Ashram. Jacqueline spends several months at the ashram, each year offering meditation retreats and satsangs to those who visit from around the world. Her astrological readings are in great demand too. She combines astrology, depths of psychology, and teachings of awakening. Jacqueline also offers special spiritual programs for children and young adults. Her topic today is the guru disciple relationship. And one thing that unites us on this planet is the search for truth of who we really are. When this search for truth arises, a true guru can guide the disciple to an awakening to his or her true nature. What is awakening and why does the word guru trigger so much distrust in many people and more? Today, she will be talking to all of us. Over to Jacqueline Maria Longstaff. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yes, Jacqueline.
Well, thank you all. And I'm so enjoying being here today. So let me get straight into this topic of the guru-disciple relationship. You know, as many of you know, I'm sure, the word guru, it means the dispeller of darkness. It is the one who can dispel the darkness to help the student or the devotee, whatever, to fall into his or her true nature, right? So it is a very, very special role to be playing through somebody. And I knew Osho many, many years ago. And I remember in a morning talk once, he said something like, the guru-disciple relationship is the final game. Play it as beautifully as possible. He didn't say don't play it. You know, he said play it as beautifully as possible. And I would suggest that as like any game, it has to be played with awareness, right? And there are many challenges today because there has been so much difficulty and despair caused by many gurus who have misused the role playing through them and misused the devotees. So, but it's a wonderful role to have. It is wonderful to meet a true guru, but it's also good for people to understand some of the pitfalls. You know, I wrote recently to somebody connected with the Ramana Maharshi Society. I wrote to them that I would say a disciple has to be quite spiritually advanced and pretty clear to know how to use the guru properly. Okay? Now, actually, the guru is a principle that sits deep within every heart, but it can be covered over with so much dust that most people have no idea the guru sits in there. In Vedic astrology, I know quite a lot about Vedic astrology. You know, the planet Jupiter, which is a very big planet, in Vedic astrology, it is called Guru. And that also tells us something. You know, the energy of Jupiter, the energy of the Guru, it's large, it's expansive, it's wisdom, and it transmits wisdom. What?
No.
I can continue? Yes.
Yes, please.
Thank you. But this role is being misused today. Well, what is happening? Let's have a look at it. You know, one thing I see that people often don't realize, it is that when you awaken to your true nature, there can still be tendencies, vasanas left over, that need to be purified in the light of consciousness. Many of you know of Ramana Maharshi. After Ramana's awakening, he sat, I think it was for 17 years, in one of the caves on Arunachala, on Mount Arunachala, just purifying and purifying. Today, everything is moving faster. There's many people beginning their spiritual journey. They're looking for gurus and teachers. So many people who've had an awakening without really deepening into it are holding satsang and giving spiritual teachings. I'm not judging this, but the thing is, as long as the vasanas are very powerful, they're going to play themselves out, through people's satsangs and teachings and so on. And that people need to be aware of this. Putting your life in your hands, in the hands of somebody who is just awoken and believing everything he or she says is true is not the very good way to be. On the planet today, I would say we need disciples who are very aware and who understand a little bit about this very special relationship. And when I work with my students, I often encourage them to see their spiritual practice as a triangle. There's 3 points on the triangle. One point is meditation. Another point is therapy, is working on your stuff as long as you need to do it. This was the gift we had at the Osho ashram all those years ago. A powerful, powerful Buddha energy and meditative energy. But we also had to work on our stuff. We had to do the therapy groups. And this means a lot of the stuff gets cleared out. The third point of the triangle I use when I work with people is I say, meditation, therapy, and the third point, live the teachings. Try to live the teachings out in the world. Don't just sit with them herein or here, Go out and live the teachings, and life will show you if you've got it or not, right? And I feel that this is actually very important. So live the teachings, don't judge yourself. This is why the heart is so important. Because if you're deep in the heart doesn't judge, but it will show you truthfully, if you really are living the teachings or you just imagine you are. Now, I'm not one for joining organizations. I don't join things, generally speaking. But last year, I joined an organization that some of you may have heard of. It's called the ASI, the Association for Spiritual Integrity. It's based in California. And actually, I invited one of the people from ASI, Jack O'Keefe. She will be giving a talk here at some time during this conference. And this organization looks at the guru and teacher situation and tries to advise people, how to use this situation as well as possible. And I remember the first meeting I went to with them, the theme was embodying transparency in the teacher's seat. Embodying transparency in the teacher's seat. I really like this title because we have to embody transparency. We have to be transparent. And what I often see is people who get on the guru chair and they start playing a guru role, maybe something that's been sitting in their minds, how they imagine a guru is supposed to be. And they're not real anymore. And when I see certain gurus sitting every day in a chair of silver or a chair of gold, or having so much gold hanging around the neck that you can't get up onto the podium, then I'm wondering what is going on. When I hear a guru speaking, and after every sentence there's a drum roll, and trumpets playing, I'm thinking, what is this? What does this create? It creates separation. That's one thing, between the guru and the student. People sitting on the floor down there would be thinking, oh my God, he's really God. I could never be as great as this. And some years ago, I read something I really enjoyed. And I've often read it up to my students on meditation retreats. It's it's a passage. It's something that was written by the disciple of Papaji, right? And this disciple's name was Arjuna Adaj, I think, Arjuna Adaj. And the piece he wrote, he called it The Mutuality of Wakefulness. I'm not going to read it all, it would take far too long. But I just want to read a couple of passages, right? Because he talks about how much he loved Papaji, but Papaji had the grace and the compassion to let me see him as a human being. And this Arjuna, he says, I lived in his house for a while. I had breakfast with him in the morning, and I went to see him in satsang. Then we go back and have lunch. And I realized that this guy had every emotion I didn't accept in myself. This is so beautiful. Every thought, every kind of prejudice that I thought was so terrible in myself, he demonstrated it. But what I noticed about him was the tendency to make it wrong never arose in him. If anger came, whoosh, it would come through, pass through, and disappear without a trace. And this ended up being the greatest teacher. I had seen so many enlightened ones sitting on podiums with cameras pointing, doing the whole guru number. And then I met him. And he said there was such compassion in it, in his profound ordinariness, in his getting upset with, I realized his being awake had nothing to do with which kind of emotions arise or which kind of thoughts come. It just has to do with leaving it all alone. And you see, one of the things I often say to my students is, for heaven's sake, don't start becoming holy. Holy isn't the same as spiritual. But when people start playing this guru role and they're not really ready, that they still have stuff they wouldn't want other people to see, then you're going to run into problems because you're going to do what you can to keep this facade. And this is what we see a lot today. And what pains me about the misuse of the devotees by the teachers and the gurus, so-called gurus, I've seen a lot of young people not so long ago. They had a guru who I met several times, and they had a guru who started abusing sexually and money-wise, and a lot of these young people, they threw away their malas, they threw them down, and they didn't want anything to do with spirituality again. So this is some of what I wanted to share with you. But the guru, it is such an honor to have the guru role playing through us. But gurus need to know there can still be stuff that will arise. There's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't mean you're not awake. It's part of the role playing through you. So whenever we need to look at something within ourselves, we must do it. It doesn't make you less awakened. And there's many, I could go on a long time. I don't think I have much time left, have I? No. So let me just try to keep it short. But I read a beautiful account recently of the different levels of discipleship. You see, when people first start on the pathway, they don't really know what it's all about. And they very much end up, basking in the light of the one on the big chair. And then you get the one who becomes a devotee, and they project all the mother-father issues onto the guru. And the guru needs to be able to respond to this with awareness. Then you get the student who's read all the books and been to all the satsangs and knows all the quotations. But if they haven't worked on their stuff, it's all up here in the mind. And then we get also the disciple, who is really devoted not only to the guru, but to the path and to truth and to finding out the truth of who he or she really is. So just remember, you often hear this expression in India, the guru is a finger pointing to the moon. Look at the moon. Don't chew the finger pointing there, right? Another way of saying this is the guru is a door to the absolute. But don't get stuck sitting on the doorstep. You've got to go through the door. And in the end, God and guru and the self, it's all one. And another little thing to finish off with. I think maybe I heard Osho say this. I can't remember. You know, he said somebody said something like, higher consciousness is infectious. So, you know, if you sit next to somebody who has a cold and they sneeze, you probably catch the cold, right? And if you come close to somebody with a higher consciousness, you know, and they sneeze, that means share, then there's a good chance you'll start catching some of it. And you have to learn to integrate the teachings, to make them your own. So this is a huge, huge subject. I'm writing a book on this at the moment. But just remember, we all have personalities. The guru, the disciple, people who've never set their foot on the pathway, we all have personalities. But we just don't identify with that personality. Not trying to push it away, not trying to polish it. And come as deep, deep, deep into the heart as possible. I always have to share the teachings of the heart, right? So come deep into the heart, have love and respect for your guru and your teacher. But just know, all can have tendencies. Don't place them too high on the pedestal, okay? And have love and respect for yourself, whatever you're going through. So that's all from me right now. Namaste.